Good day. This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Montreal, Canada for Reason to Resist on March 15th, 2026. Now, in case you aren't already convinced that U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is a dangerous lunatic, watch this.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the western wall of the Temple Mount, the western wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible. I don't know how it would happen, you don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen. That's all I know. And a step in that process, a step in every process, is the recognition that facts and activities on the ground truly matter. And that's why going and visiting Judea and Samaria, understanding that sovereignty, the very sovereignty of Israeli soil, and Israeli cities, locations, is a critical next step to showing the world that this is the land for Jews and the land of Israel.
The true miracle is that a criminally insane maniac like Pete Hegseth has ascended to the position of U.S. Secretary of War. This is an excerpt from a speech that this satanic figure gave at the 2018 Temple Mount Arutz Sheva conference in Jerusalem. At that time, the drunken Zionist was a talking head on Fox News. This was during the first Trump administration. And you don't need to be an expert in Islam or the peoples of the Islamic world to understand that if Israel were to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque on what they call the Zionists, the Temple Mount, the unrest we have seen thus far in the Muslim world would look like a cakewalk by comparison. Now, within the last 24 hours or so, Iran's military has launched no less than 4 waves of missiles and drones. Before I get into the details of what has happened as best as we can discern it within the past 24 to 48 hours, I just want to remind you that if you find this video to be informative, please like and share it. We are rapidly approaching the threshold of 150,000 subscribers after having launched this channel in mid-2024. If you are not already a subscriber, we warmly encourage you to become one. Help us, please, to expand the reach of our unapologetic resistance journalism. So with that, let's turn then to the latest waves of Iranian missile and drone attacks on the genocidal entity and U.S. military bases in the region. The waves that were launched within the last 24 to 48 hours were waves 51 to 54. The war has been going on for 15 days, so that works out to about 3 to 4 waves per day. So let me show you the statement of the Iranian military as regards wave number 51. This was carried out against the source of equipment with F-35 and F-16 fighter jets, according to the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and it refers there to, I think quite rightly, as what it calls the American terrorist regime. Wave 51 of the Operation True Promise 4 was carried out with the sacred code name Ya Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, peace be upon him, seeking help from the eternal essence of Allah the Almighty, they said, and they referred to a combined attack of liquid and solid fueled missiles against the forces of the American terrorist army at Al-Qarash base as the source of the aggression against the Islamic homeland. This base, according to the IRGC, is the source of equipment for the F-35 and F-16 fighter jets of the American terrorist regime, and it is the location for refueling aircraft and the main base for American AWACS. Now, let me also show you the reports for waves 52 to 54. Here is the statement by the IRGC of the 52nd wave. Israeli companies were attacked in Tel Aviv industrial sector, and 3 American assets in the region were hit in a combined missile drone attack. Industrial sectors are gathering center of U.S. forces at the Harir Air Base in Erbil, that's in northern Iraq, and the Ali al-Salam and Arfijan bases in Kuwait. They were also hit, according to the IRGC, with Iranian missiles and drones. The announcement of Wave 53 is up on the screen now, a combined launch of 10 Fatah and Qadr hypersonic missiles and drones against U.S. terrorist army forces at Al-Dafra base in the hapless United Arab Emirates, which had a support intelligence role in the aggression against Iran. And the regional command and control centers and the home front management of the Israeli regime were also hit. And finally, here is the latest wave of which I am aware, Wave 54. This was announced by the Iranian military this morning. And according to their statement, Wave 54 was carried out against the regime's management and decision-making centers related to its air-based operations. By regime, I assume they're referring to the Epstein regime, namely the Trump and Netanyahu regimes. And they say that the missiles used in this attack were Karamshad super heavy missiles with 2-ton warheads. These are the missiles which have become quite predominant in the missile war between Israel and the United States, Israel and Iran, I should say. And they are reportedly capable of delivering up to 80 submunitions. Included in the 54th wave were the Kebar Shekan, Qadr, and Imad missiles. And for the first time, according to the IRGC, the strategic solid fuel Sejel missile. So 2 weeks into this war, the IRGC says it is continuing to roll out weapons that were not used previously in, not just in this war, but in the 12-day war as well. So in connection with the announcement of the 54th wave, the IRGC published footage of its launch, its 54th wave launch, and here is that footage.
ولكن الله رما ارتال موشک خیبر شکن با رمز مقدس یا فاطمه الزهرا یا فاطمه الزهرا یا فاطمه الزهرا. الله اکبر.
Now, based on the timing of the publication of this video, the accompanying announcement, and the fact that it's daylight in the video, my belief is that these launches occurred this morning, the morning of March 15th, 2026. Now, I'm going to show you a series of videos which I've gathered from Telegram resistance channels about the strikes and impacts, the aftermath of those strikes during the past 24 to 48 hours. I just want to, repeat my normal disclaimer. It's very difficult for me to confirm the veracity of these videos. They are being published on pro-resistance Telegram channels. So I offer that to you as a note of caution. I can't guarantee you that they are what I believe them to be, but I wouldn't be showing them to you if I didn't think that they were what I described them to be. So let's begin with strikes on Eilat, which is the southernmost city of the genocidal Israeli entity. It is the only Red Sea port that it has. Here is a video of a strike which occurred, I believe, yesterday during the day on Eilat. Now, I'm going to show you another video of a strike on Eilat, which I believe occurred yesterday during the day. And this may be the same strike from a somewhat different angle, or it may be a different strike. And here is a video of an impact in Lod in central Israel. That was obviously taken by a CCTV camera. Let's watch that again. Let's turn to video footage and photographic evidence of strikes on Tel Aviv within the last 24 to 48 hours. Here is a video of an impact on Tel Aviv. And another video published by resistance channels of the aftermath of a strike on Tel Aviv. It may have been the same strike or a different strike that occurred last night. And you can see that's a rather large fire in Tel Aviv. And here's another video of possibly the same fire, or it could be the site of a different impact. Now, last night, Iran conducted massive attacks on U.S. missile or military bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. The Iraqi resistance was also reportedly quite active. It published a remarkable video of an FPV drone flying unmolested over the U.S. Victoria military base in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. In the video I'm about to show you, the world is given a quite detailed panoramic view of this military base. And at the very end of the video, the drone strikes a target. Now, I just want to pause there and comment. We're halfway through this video. There has not been any apparent resistance to the overflight of this FPV drone, not even by, machine gun fire, let alone, fully operational air defense systems. And in fact, it doesn't even look like anybody on the ground is paying the slightest heed to this FPV drone flying low over a major military facility of the United States in Iraq. And the idea that you could get away with this when the United States spends what is probably now well in excess of $1 trillion a year on what it claims to be the world's most sophisticated military technologies is really just extraordinary, and is a raging indictment of the degree to which the American people and other countries in the West are being robbed blind by the U.S. military-industrial complex. The amount of money we are spending for inferior military technologies really boggles the mind. So let's watch the rest of this. And by the way, this is not a one-off. I can assure you, because I've reported on it, that in the first phase of the hot war between Hezbollah and Israel, after the genocide began in October 2023, Hezbollah published numerous videos like this of FPV drones launched by Hezbollah flying over sensitive military installations and intelligence installations of Israel in Haifa and other parts of northern occupied Palestine. So this has happened again and again, and it just goes to show the degree to which we are being robbed blind by the U.S. military-industrial complex. So let's continue with this video. So I don't know what the target was that was struck at the end there. I don't have any reliable reports of what they chose to hit and quite possibly destroy. But whatever the effect of that strike may have been, the Iraqi resistance now has a lot of useful intelligence about what is on that base. The other interesting aspect of this video, I thought, was that you saw almost no personnel on the ground, which means one of two things. Either there are substantial numbers of troops there. You would think so, given the size of the base and all the equipment that is situated there, and they are hiding in bunkers. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that the base has been largely evacuated, and all of that equipment has been left there largely and hangars, and who knows what else is in those hangars, has been left largely unprotected by a panicked U.S. military. And it's not only the U.S. military that's getting pummeled senselessly. Here's a video of a strike on the UAE embassy in Erbil, Iraq. It's unclear whether this was carried out by the Iraqi resistance or by the Iranian military. Now, the carnage for the U.S. military in the Persian Gulf and its Arab vassals does not stop there by any means. Here is a video of an Iranian, or the aftermath of an Iranian strike on the oil terminal in Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. Apparently, this was carried out with drones. Two very large rooms of smoke at oil terminal. And apparently that terminal only resumed its operations yesterday. So the Iranians obviously are focused on keeping it shut down effectively. Now, here's another video of the aftermath of the Fujairah strike on this terminal. Now, in retaliation for the U.S. Israeli strike, I should say, on a banking facility in Iran a few days ago, Iranian forces, after warning that they were going to retaliate against financial centers, U.S. financial facilities and offices in the Persian Gulf, they struck the Citibank offices in the capitals of the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. And here is a strike, a video, I should say, of one of those attacks. I believe this is the Citibank offices in Bahrain.
ड्रोन जा रहा है, आप लोग देखिए, भागो पीछे तो पीछे, बहुत तगड़ा ही धमाका हुआ है यहाँ बहरीन में, देख लीजिए, ये देखिए.
Now, I may have misspoke. I said Bahrain, but I think this is actually the Citibank offices in the United Arab Emirates. At least that's the best information that I have. Let's watch this again.
ये ड्रोन जा रहा है, आप लोग देखिए, भागो पीछे तो पीछे, बहुत तगड़ा ही धमाका हुआ है यहाँ बहरीन में, देख लीजिए, ये देखिए.
On March 12th, Citibank announced that it would close most of its United Arab Emirates branches and financial centers until March 14th as a precaution. That's how it put it. I would doubt very much that it will open them again anytime soon, although who knows with these greedy bankers. They may be willing to place their employees in the region at risk in order to maintain the bottom line. Now, in any case, whatever they may have decided in that regard, you can imagine the disruption this is causing to the mega bank's business in the United Arab Emirates. This is a jurisdiction whose ruling regime has tried very hard to cultivate the Emirates, and particularly Dubai, as an international banking center, for speaking frankly, for criminals and greedmongers from around the world. I imagine that this is going to do lasting, probably permanent damage to the perception that the United Arab Emirates could serve as a stable center of international banking. Now, meanwhile, the Iranian forces continue to strike the fear of Allah into the hearts and minds of shipping companies around the world. Here is a video that emerged of yet another U.S. oil tanker on fire, this one in Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates. Resistance channels also published footage of an apparent attack on a training base belonging to U.S. occupation forces in Erbil, Iraq. This apparently is a base where Kurdish separatists were being trained by the occupier. Now, whatever was being struck there, it obviously there were obviously numerous explosions and numerous sound blasts. So either it was being pummeled by multiple drones and or missiles, or another possibility is that there were one or two strikes on an ammunition depot, and what we were watching there were secondary explosions after the ammunition depot was hit. I can't tell you what exactly happened there, but whatever that target was, obviously there were many explosions that resulted from the strike or strikes that occurred last night. Now, in addition, Iran has targeted again U.S. bases and strategic facilities in Saudi Arabia. And here's the video of the aftermath of one of those strikes. Watch that. And here's a video of the aftermath, reportedly, of an attack on the U.S. Victoria base in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. Let's watch that again. Listen carefully to the announcement. So that sounded to me like an automated message stating, I say again, all personnel are requested to remain. And then I think the video got cut off at that point. Again, that sounded to me like an automated message. Kind of reminded me in a creepy, eerie sort of way of the famous sci-fi movie Alien, when the star of the epic saga is the lone survivor after alien attacks on her spaceship, and the spaceship, a computer is telling her to evacuate, and she's kind of left to confront the horror on her own. I don't know what was going on there, but it don't sound pretty at all at this Victoria base, as they call it. I would imagine that they're thinking hard about changing the name of that military base, because it don't look like there's anything victorious about what's going on there nowadays. Now, here's a video of an Iranian overnight strike on Bahrain. You hear again, there's quite a substantial impact. It appears that the Iranian military struck something huge at the U.S. Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain, judging from this particular image. You can see that's produced quite a bit of smoke. Tragically, I think that is likely to be some kind of an oil storage or oil producing facility. And in addition, we have more satellite imagery now of the aftermath of Iranian strikes on U.S. military bases in the region. Here's one of them. This, I understand, is satellite imagery of the U.S. Ali al-Salam Air Base in Kuwait. On the left, you can see the before photo. On the right, the after photo. And let's just focus for a moment on the before photo on the left. You can see that already there appears to be very substantial damage in the lower right-hand corner of the photo on the left, the satellite image on the left. It looks like a series of structures, approximately, I would say, 16 in number, have been obliterated. They're in black in the lower right-hand corner of the image on the left. And then there are other images in the upper right-hand corner, the upper left-hand corner and the lower left-hand corner, which, judging by the dark colors, appear to have sustained damage. Now, compare the image on the left to the image on the right, and you'll see that there has been even more destruction at this base. It has been circled in red, and entire buildings, hangars have been wiped out between the times that those two satellite images were taken. Apparently, Iran is also striking U.S. military facilities in Jordan. Here is an image, a screenshot of Flight Radar 24, a widely used website which tracks aircraft movements around the world. And the Flight Radar 24 site reported a U.S. medevac flight traced from Jordan to Israel after both bases were hit. This would have been, I think, yesterday. And this post from Geopolitics Prime, a resistance Telegram channel, says that open source flight data shows BNDG E64 moving from King Faisal Air Base, Jordan, to Ovda Air Base, Israel, to Nevatim Air Base, Israel. Both Jordan's King Faisal and Israel's Ovda were targeted by Iranian strikes today. Now, the Israeli genocidal military is also confronting a very challenging situation on the Lebanese front. Here is a video published last night, which reportedly shows a bevy of interceptors being fired at by Israeli air defense systems in northern occupied Palestine to intercept missiles fired by Hezbollah last night.
What the fuck? לא הספקתי לצאת. תודה שאתה אומר, אחי. תודה שאתה פאקינג אומר, יא בן זונה. וואו, זה הקיצוני.
It's interesting how these Israeli colonists swear in English. In any case, it's unclear from that video whether any of the Hezbollah incoming got through. It may be that they were substantially neutralized by the Israeli air defenses, but bear in mind that Hezbollah is firing rockets and missiles that are far less sophisticated than those being fired from Iranian military bases. But in addition, even if they don't get through, they end up doing a few things. Number one, they force Israelis into the shelters, which are disruptive to the economy and the lives of the colonists in northern occupied Palestine. They create disruption to the economy because every time people are ordered to go into the missile shelters, the bomb shelters, most of them are unable to do their work. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, these incoming missiles force Israel to deplete their already dangerously low missile stocks. And in that regard, I want to draw your attention to a report by The Scoop. Israel informed the U.S. this week that it is running critically low on ballistic missile interceptors as the conflict rages on, U.S. officials told Semaphore. Israel had reportedly entered the current war already low on interceptors that were fired during last summer's conflict with Iran. Of course, it's not just the war, the 12-day war with Iran that has consumed Israel's interceptors. It was also the hot war between Hezbollah and the genocidal Israeli military from October 2023 to November 2024, when Israel entered into this fraudulent ceasefire with Lebanon. And it is also, of course, the Ukraine war, because these interceptors are coming primarily from the United States and other European countries, I should say, and they have been providing huge numbers of interceptor missiles to their proxy in Ukraine ever since February 2022. So it is a certainty. It has to be, given the very low rate at which the U.S. military-industrial complex can reproduce these interceptor missiles. They're very expensive. They take a long time for the industry, the industrial base of the United States to produce. It only stands to reason that Israel is, in fact, critically low. Now, after this report emerged, and today, I believe it was, the Netanyahu regime denied strenuously that it's critically low on ballistic missile interceptors. It has every motive to lie in that regard, because, of course, if the population of the colony believes that there's no more air defense protection, they are more likely to flee the country. And already, as we've reported previously, the Netanyahu regime is taking steps to limit severely the outflow of colonists from the genocidal entity by restricting the number of persons who can board outbound flights from Ben Gurion Airport. Now, yesterday, Hezbollah published an operational report identifying no less than 47 military operations against the genocidal entity in the prior 24 hours. And you can see this report published on the Resistance News Network Telegram channel. Hezbollah stated, in defense of Lebanon and its people, the Islamic resistance issued 47 military communiques on Saturday, 14/3/2026, regarding operations to confront the movements of the Israeli enemy at the Lebanese-Palestinian border, as well as operations targeting the positions, bases, and deployment of the Israeli enemy army and its settlements in northern occupied Palestine as follows. And then it proceeds to list each and every one of those 47 military operations. And I'll just read you the first one. At 1900 yesterday, Friday, 13/3/26, the Stella Maris base, a strategic base for maritime surveillance and monitoring on the northern coast level, was targeted with a swarm of attack drones. And this is typically the level of detail that Hezbollah provides. They give you the exact time that the operation occurred, the date, the target, and they tell you, at least in general terms, the missiles or projectiles they used in order to target the facility. And oftentimes they'll explain why they targeted that particular facility, which they do here. You know, the more detail they provide, I think the more credible these reports are, although I'm not suggesting we should just take them at face value. But by all accounts, including reports coming out of the Israeli military and the Israeli media, the Israeli military and political elite are quite surprised at the level of attack and resistance that the Islamic resistance in Lebanon, the military forces of Hezbollah, have been able to mount during the past 2 weeks. They obviously are surprised by this, and the imagery coming out of northern occupied Palestine supports as Hezbollah's accounts as to the intensity and the frequency of its attacks on the genocidal military. Now, 47 military operations is, to my knowledge, the highest number of military operations in one day that Hezbollah has conducted or reported to have conducted since the start of the Israeli genocide in October 2023. I have monitored these reports very carefully since the beginning of the genocide, and I can't recall seeing a single one in which the number of military operations in approximately one day were that high. Now, Hezbollah has also published a video of a guided missile attack on an Israeli military position in Jabal Balat in southern Lebanon, and here is that video. At this point, I'm reminded yet again of Benny Netanyahu's infamous speech at the United Nations General Assembly about 6 months ago. Here's part of what he had to say.
Crippled Hezbollah, taking out most of its leaders and much of its weapons arsenal. You remember those beepers, the pagers? We paged Hezbollah, and believe me, they got the message.
I wonder if Benny got their message. And by the way, is Benny even alive at this stage? Inquiring minds want to know. Now, meanwhile, for the 15th straight day, Iranians took to the streets en masse to demonstrate their defiance towards the Epstein regime. And this is just one of the many videos that is available of the massive demonstrations that occurred across Iran on the 15th day of this criminal war of aggression on their country. Now, for U.S. interests in West Asia, the conditions, I think, clearly are becoming increasingly perilous, as evidenced by the latest warning from the United States government to citizens in the region. Here you can see a report in the American corporate media that the United States, the Trump regime, has warned its citizens to leave Iraq as Trump repeats call for allies to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, he's calling on allies to do that because he knows that any sucker that sends its naval vessels into the Strait of Hormuz is going to get pummeled senselessly. And so this charlatan, this fraudster and con man is trying to get his hapless vassals from Europe and other parts of the world to sacrifice their military personnel and their overpriced and overrated hardware, largely purchased from the United States, to the cause of opening up the Strait of Hormuz, which is a fool's errand, quite frankly. Now, as we reported yesterday, the Trump regime has offered a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to the capture or killing of certain senior Iranian officials. Well, the Trump regime is learning the hard way. That's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Here you see a statement on the resistance channel Slaviangrad, attributed to the Islamic resistance in Iraq. They put out a reward of 150 million Iraqi dinars, 114,450 US dollars to anyone who provides information that results in the detention of an American service member in the US military or intelligence services. They're being quite diplomatic there. They're not calling for, information that leads to the killing, but rather to the detention. When you compare that to the kind, the language of the offers that the CIA and the other branches of the U.S. government are putting out, that looks rather diplomatic, in my opinion. In any case, 114,450 U.S. dollars that's a significant amount of money for most Iraqis, given the impoverishment into which the U.S. occupation has plunged their country. And I would imagine that many Iraqis would be all too happy to claim that money in exchange for offering up information leading to the detention or worse of U.S. military or intelligence personnel in their country. Now, on top of all of that, to deal with the critical shortage of air defense interceptors in and around Israel, the Trump regime is stabbing its Ukrainian proxy in the back yet again. And here is a report from Bloomberg, or the summary of a report from Bloomberg, that the U.S. has sent 10,000 Merop interceptor drones to the Middle East, which were originally designed for the Ukrainian armed forces. In addition, Bumblebee interceptors with high explosive warheads have been sent. This is really appalling that after having sucked Ukraine into a war that has been going on far longer, far longer than the war uh, in West Asia. It started the hot war between the Russian and the Ukrainian militaries, and really the Russian military and the whole of NATO. That's what really is happening there. Um, that started in February 2022. And so far, that war has done vastly more damage to Ukraine, our supposed ally, than the various wars over the last 2.5 years have done to the genocidal entity, for the simple reason that Russia has a far more formidable enemy, military, I should say, and logistically is in a very good position to deliver crushing blows to Ukraine. And so it is beyond a betrayal. It's really just stinks to high heaven that after the US and Europe sucked the Ukrainian people into this conflict, that's exactly what they did by helping to foment a coup in 2014, and then scamming the Russians into agreeing into the first and second Minsk Accords, and then doing everything possible to undermine them, blowing up the negotiations that were happening between Ukraine and Russia in the early stages of the war in 2022, when they were on the verge of doing a deal that would be much better. It would have been much better than any deal the Ukrainians could get today. All of that and more was done by the West to Ukraine, and now they are again stabbing the Ukrainians in the back by taking away their interceptor drones and delivering them to the genocidal Israeli entity. Now, rather than protest the obvious favoritism that the insanely Zionist Trump regime is showing to Israel, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has offered to send anti-drone experts to assist in the Israeli effort to defend against Iran's massive drone arsenal. So Zelensky is a full participant in the West's betrayal of the Ukrainian people. Make no mistake about that. He does not serve their interests. He serves the interests of the genocidal Trump and Netanyahu regimes. And if you have any doubt about that, you can look this up yourself. Zelensky said repeatedly over the past several years that he wanted Ukraine to become a big Israel. Not only that, but when Zelensky became embroiled last year in a corruption scandal, or the people around him, one of whom was a character by the name of Timur Mindich, when Mindich was on the verge of being arrested by Ukrainian anti-corruption authorities, he fled to Israel, and we've heard nothing about him ever since. So you can be sure that even the political and military elite in Ukraine are more devoted to the wars of genocide and aggression being waged by the United States and Israel in West Asia than they are to the protection of their own people. And as a consequence of their betrayal and their entry into this war, the Iranian military and political leadership have made some rather ominous statements about Ukraine. Here's one of them. This is coming from the head of the National Security Commission of the Iranian parliament. He says, quote, "By providing support to the Israeli regime with drones, the collapsed Ukraine has effectively become involved in the war, and according to Article 51 of the UN Charter, has turned its entire territory into a legitimate target for Iran." And here is another statement. This one this may just be a repetition or a resummary of the same statement I just read to you, but on X from Ibrahim Aziz 133, "By providing drone support to the Israeli regime, failed Ukraine has effectively become involved in the war, and under Article 51 of the UN Charter has turned its entire territory into a legitimate target for Iran." Given Iran's demonstrated proficiency with missile technology, I would not exclude the possibility that they are capable, and not just missiles, but drone technology, they are capable of launching attacks on Ukrainian territory. But quite apart from that, if Ukraine has any significant assets in West Asia, whether they be of a military or a commercial nature, I think you can count on the Iranians doing everything possible to deliver payback to Ukraine for its entry into this war, as if they don't have enough problems of their own. They've got to become embroiled in a war in West Asia. And by the way, this just highlights the fact that all of these wars being waged by the West are interconnected, are related, and they're part of the larger and overarching project of maintaining and intensifying the era of Western supremacy and global hegemony. These are not distinct conflicts by any stretch of the imagination. Now, some news has emerged from this war that should alarm us all, whatever your political inclinations may be. The Financial Times just issued an article entitled "Iran War Risks Global Food Shock as Fertilizer Supplies Cut." And here up on the screen is a summary of that article published on a resistance channel. I think this was Slaviangrad. The main problem is related to a shortage of urea, the most common nitrogen fertilizer in the world, according to the Financial Times. According to the analytical company Kepler, out of 2.1 million tons of urea, almost half did not reach the global market. Now, more than 1.1 million tons of fertilizers are now accumulating in the Persian Gulf amid the escalation of the conflict. Additional pressure is exerted by rising prices for natural gas, which is used in the production of nitrogen fertilizers for ammonia. Due to the rising cost of gas, some factories in Asia have already been forced to suspend production. The Middle East plays a key role in the global trade of fertilizers and energy resources. About a third of the global export of urea passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So we are heading into a crisis of really epic proportions if we remain on the current trajectory, which is the prolonged closure of the Strait of Hormuz. No one has any solution for that, and none is likely to materialize in the weeks ahead, nor is there any indication that the United States is willing to make the concessions necessary to bring this war of aggression to an end, which would include, as the Iranian government has stated repeatedly now, massive reparations in the range of $25 billion for the illegal destruction of assets within infrastructure and the killing of people within Iran. Also, a recognition of Iran's legitimate rights, which include, under international law, the right to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes and to possess a ballistic conventional missile arsenal for defensive purposes. And there are other rights as well. And also the departure of U.S. military forces from the region. These are the core demands of the Islamic Republic. And there's no indication that the United States is willing to meet any of those demands. In fact, through the satanic mouthpiece, Pete Hegseth, the rhetoric of the Trump regime is becoming increasingly belligerent and extreme. So given those realities and the fact that no one has the ability to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by force, this is simply going to escalate, I'm very sad to say, and the consequences are going to be quite severe for the whole world, and including countries that are closely aligned with the United States in the non-Western world, such as South Korea, Pakistan, and Japan, who are heavily dependent on oil exports and gas exports from the Persian Gulf. Now, while I'm on the subject of global oil supplies, one of the last couple of things I want to address in this report, I want to talk about the fact that the Trump regime has suspended temporarily some of the sanctions on Russian oil. I received a couple of messages from people whose opinions I respect, people who are, very pro-resistance, and they're quite exercised about the fact that Russia is agreeing to sell an increased amount of oil to mitigate the crisis in the oil markets that is being created by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And they, at least one or two people I know, again, I respect their opinions, although I disagree with them on this issue, they're characterizing the decision of Russia or the agreement of Russia to increase its exports to mitigate the current crisis in the oil markets as a bailout of the imperialists. I don't agree with that, and I'm going to tell you why. To explain my perspective, I'm going to put up on the screen here the chart from Wikipedia showing the top 20 oil exporters in 2022. And I chose 2022 because that was the first year of the Ukraine war. And by that point in time, Trump had not yet returned to the White House. Since returning, he has imposed particularly severe sanctions on Russian oil exports. And it was relatively early in the conflict in Ukraine. So the sanctions had not really begun to bite yet. And you can see here that by far the largest exporter of oil in 2022 was Saudi Arabia, with nearly 7.4 million barrels a day. And Russia was second, but well behind Saudi Arabia with about 4.8 million barrels of oil a day. Now let's just go through the other Gulf countries that are oil exporters. Iraq was third with 3.7 billion. Then sixth place was United Arab Emirates with 2.7 billion. Kuwait with 1.9, not billion, I'm sorry, million. 2.7 million for the United Arab Emirates. Kuwait, 1.9 million barrels a day. Going further down the list, you'll find, I'm not going to include Oman, which has 921,000 because it's south of the Strait of Hormuz. So we'll leave it out. But going further down the list, there's Qatar with about 500,000 barrels a day in 20th spot. You can't see on this chart Bahrain, which is also an oil exporter, I understand. But let's forget about Bahrain. Let's exclude Oman. When you add up the oil exports from the Gulf autocracies, they dwarf those of Russia. And in fact, the total amount of oil coming out of the Gulf, according to industry experts on a daily basis, is 20 million barrels. So that is more, 20 million barrels is more than 4 times the total amount of exports, oil exports by Russia in 2022. Now let's imagine, just for the sake of argument, that Russia could ramp up in the space of a few months its oil exports by 50%, which would be a huge increase in oil exports within the space of a few months. I don't know if Russia could even do that much. I'm not sufficiently apprised of the constraints on the Russian oil industry, but I suspect that that would be quite a challenge and might be, practically speaking, impossible. Even a 50% increase in Russian oil exports within the space of 1 year, let's say. But let's suppose that's possible. That would add an additional 2.4 million barrels of oil a day. And that's roughly a little more than 10%. That's a little more than 10% of the oil that comes out of the Persian Gulf, or was coming out of the Persian Gulf on a pre-war basis every day. So this would do nothing more, even if Russia was able to ramp up its oil exports by really a dramatic amount, 50% within the space of 1 year, let's say. That would not do much to mitigate the crisis in the global oil markets. So look, and I'm a person, I've made this quite clear, I'm prepared to criticize any government. I have criticized the Russian and Chinese governments during the course of the genocide for not fulfilling what I regard as the obligations of all states under Genocide Convention Article 1 to prevent genocide. I criticize both the Russian and Chinese governments for not vetoing that disgraceful UN Security Council resolution relating to Donald Trump's so-called peace board. So I'm not one of the people in the alternative media, of whom there are many, sadly, who think that both the Russian government and the Chinese government are above reproach. And there's never any reason to criticize them, that they can do no wrong. While I think that they are far more rational actors and far more capable and competent and restrained than the major governments of the West, I do not think they are above reproach. But in this particular case, I cannot fault the Russian government for doing what it's doing. It is fighting a war against the entirety of NATO. The constraints on its oil industry are becoming particularly severe. especially since Trump returned to the White House. They need to fund their war against NATO. And if they take advantage of this opportunity to increase substantially their oil revenues, I think it would not be fair of us to criticize them, especially because that's not likely to seriously mitigate the crisis in the oil market. The Iranian government and military will continue to exercise a huge degree of leverage over the West by virtue of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, even if Russia is able to dramatically increase its oil exports in the near term, something which I think remains to be seen. Now, a couple other points before I close out my report for today. This article in The Guardian yesterday caught my eye, written by Deepa Parent, who interviewed anti-government persons living in Iran, and they were bitterly condemning the Trump regime for what it is doing to their country. I'm going to speak candidly, which is, of course, my tendency, that I really don't have any sympathy for these people. The people who in Iran thought that the Trump and Netanyahu regimes were going to come to their salvation or had their interests at heart after watching the degree to which they were prepared to murder and maim Palestinian civilians, and particularly children, and starve them over the past 2 years, commit every manner of depravity with gleeful impunity. It was obvious to any person with a functioning brain that the Trump and Netanyahu regime were genocidal racists. That was obvious long before the latest war of aggression on Iran began. So anybody inside Iran or outside Iran who thought that these psychopaths were going to deliver democracy, freedom, and justice to the Iranian people, I would go so far as to say that those people are themselves racists. Why do I say that? Because you could only come to that conclusion if you attach no value to Palestinian life. Really, you'd have to attach no value to Palestinian life to think that people who are the mass murderers of Palestinian children give a shit about you. So frankly, the pro-Trump or formerly pro-Trump Iranians, pox on all your houses, the people who deserve our sympathy and our solidarity, in my view, are those who were wise enough and decent enough to understand that the Trump and Netanyahu regimes are the most evil actors in the world today. And the last thing I want to share with you on a lighter note is an interesting video that was published by a cheeky journalist. I believe he's from France, perhaps from Belgium, who managed to ask a number of European legislators to identify Iran on a map. Here's what happened.
On parle beaucoup de l'Iran. C'est où l'Iran?
Non mais attendez, moi je... Le 3 d'Ormuz c'est là.
Mais c'est où l'Iran?
Ben là. Et là c'est le 3.
I just want to start over again. This is Benjamin Haddad, ministre chargé de l'Europe. Okay, this is a pretty serious dude in the European Union. Dude cannot identify Iran on a map.
Le 3 d'Ormuz c'est là.
Mais c'est où l'Iran?
Ben là. Et là c'est le 3 d'Ormuz.
Mais où est l'Iran?
Mais attendez, bon, ça va.
Bon, un demi-point pour le ministre de l'Europe qui a eu le mérite de situer le détroit d'Ormuz. On enchaîne. Vous voyez la carte là?
So he was able to identify the Strait of Hormuz, but couldn't identify Iran on a map. So now they're asking someone else.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites? Vous me faites peur.
C'est où l'Iran?
Alors attendez. Je crois que c'est là, non?
Non, ça c'est la Bulgarie et c'est en Europe.
She chose Bulgaria. That's right, a European country, thinking that was Iran.
Est-ce que vous me laissez faire Google?
En attendant la réponse Google, nouvel essai avec Fabienne Keller, ex-maire de Strasbourg.
This is the former mayor of a major French city, Strasbourg.
J'ai une petite question toute simple, vous allez voir, j'ai une carte.
Oui.
C'est où l'Iran?
L'Iran est là.
Non, l'Iran ce n'est pas la Turquie, mais on...
She thought that Turkey was Iran. the former mayor of Strasbourg.
Se rapproche.
Tac, là.
Heureusement que vous êtes
Pardon.
rattrapé. Hein.
Oui, je me suis rattrapée.
Autre tentative avec Marie Toussaint, tête de liste des écologistes. C'est où l'Iran?
This is the lead candidate for the ecologists in the European Parliament.
Hey, c'est lequel l'Iran? C'est par là?
Choisir.
Non. C'est lequel? Je pense que c'est celui-là. Je suis pas sûre à 100%.
Non, ça c'est l'Afghanistan.
Ouais,
She thought Afghanistan was Iran.
c'est ça. Oui, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Bah c'est par là quoi.
Quelque part par là, bon, on progresse. On continue avec un autre parlementaire français, David Cormand, eurodéputé depuis 7 ans.
So this character, David Cormand, has been in the European Parliament for 7 years. Here we go, folks.
C'est où l'Iran?
Aïe, 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 ça y est, échec et mat.
Just so you don't know, when a Frenchman says, oh, yeah, 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 it means he's in deep shit.
Je me cours pas par là.
Non, ça c'est l'Arabie Saoudite. On débriefe avec l'eurodéputé. Comment explique-t-il qu'on ait eu autant
He mistook Saudi Arabia for Iran.
de mauvaises réponses?
On n'a pas la science infuse, on fait ce qu'on peut. Il y a beaucoup de sujets sur lesquels on doit apprendre, et donc on n'est pas des encyclopédies sur pattes. On fait ce qu'on peut pour essayer d'être au courant des choses.
I assure you, my friends, that all of these characters come from countries that, in one way or another, are supporting the U.S. Israeli criminal war of aggression on Iran, and these mofos can't even identify Iran on a map. Tells you all you need to know about the political leadership in the West. I'm signing off today on March 15th, 2026.